I want to talk about something a lot of people will not admit out loud. Are you super ambitious, but at the same time you kind of feel lazy? You know exactly where you want to go in your life, you know exactly what it looks like, and you have clear goals. But when it comes to executing these consistently, something just doesn't click. You procrastinate, you tell yourself you'll start next week, or you wait for motivation to arise. And then maybe you feel frustrated because your vision is greater than your ability to be disciplined. And for a long time, I thought that meant that there was something wrong with me. When I say you're lazy, I don't mean you do nothing. You probably have a job, you probably go to the gym and train, and you show up when you need to. However, you're inconsistent in the things that will actually move the needle, in the actions or tasks that will actually move you in the direction of whatever it is that you're wanting to achieve. And when you think about this isn't a discipline issue, it's actually an issue with your clarity and your priorities. It's very difficult to work towards something vague. If your goals are very broad, like to grow my business or to feel healthy or to be successful, then that's a really good indication of a vague goal that doesn't allow you to attach any urgency or emotional attachment to that outcome. Another layer to this is that you can be ambitious in your mind and have all of these thoughts of wanting to be this great success or have this amazing business or be the healthiest person, win a bodybuilding show, whatever it is. You can have all those thoughts. But because we are creatures of comfort and creatures of habit, it's easier for us to stay safe in our day-to-day actions that don't lead us to those things that we dream of. And that's how we're ambitious in our minds, but we're not actually executing the things we need to do to get there. And a good example of this is just like consuming content. You may be like trying to grow your YouTube channel like I am, and you may be spending heaps of time watching videos on how to grow your channel. You're researching, you know, what's the best thumbnails to use, what's the best hashtags, how to generate great title ideas. You're doing so many things behind the scenes, but you're lacking the ability to take action because you're not clear on the fact that, hey, this is actually something that you want. And don't get me wrong, all those things are amazing and ambition is absolutely fantastic. And without ambition, you're not going to get anywhere, right? Because you need to have the drive to want to do something. But in the same breath, you have to be able to actually take the actions towards that. So if our dream is to grow our YouTube channel, it's fantastic that we're learning all of these things about growing our YouTube channel, but we have to do that alongside the action, putting out content, having a regular posting schedule. We have to be uploading our videos in order to actually see an outcome of growing our YouTube channel. Otherwise, all we're doing is just thinking about growing a YouTube channel, and that's where we're getting stuck in our heads and not actually taking action towards our goals. There's also been a couple of times in my life where I've had to realize that I'm not actually being lazy, I'm just overstimulated and I'm procrastinating everything because I'm so overwhelmed. Especially in this day and age when we're constantly consuming short form content from TikToks to Reels, you know, the Instagram shorts. We're constantly on to the next thing and getting that quick dopamine fix. It's very difficult for our brains these days to stay focused on long form content, and that includes things like watching YouTube videos, maybe it's reading a book, in fact even just watching a TV show without being on your phone. There's so many short-term dopamine fixes that we're addicted to and we don't even realize it, that it's very easy to be overstimulated because we in this day and age are wanting that stimulation from so many areas at one time, and that in itself is a resistance to laziness. You want to do all these things and you're trying to do so much and cram into such a short amount of time, but what you're actually doing is just getting yourself a dopamine fix. And because all of these actions are so instant and they're giving us that quick dopamine hit, when we actually sit down and try to take an action that's actually moving the needle towards our goal, so we know we want to grow our YouTube channel, to sit down and actually film a video that could take, God forbid, more than 30 seconds, it's really a huge effort for ourselves to do that. So really when we think about it, we have all this ambition, which is great, and we're struggling to take the actions towards our goals, right? That's our downfall. So a few things you can do is actually just improving your ability to focus and concentrate by consuming less short form content. Maybe you just need to cut down a little bit on your TikTok scrolling. You're not going to doom scroll on Reels all day. Like those sorts of things are going to help you feel a lot more at ease and okay with the idea of doing those long-term deep work actions that take a long period of time, just not those instant kind of dysregulating hits of dopamine that we usually get. There's also this truth that most ambitious people actually have this huge gap between how they see themselves and how they behave daily. So ask yourself, do you think of yourself as someone who's driven, as someone who's committed, or someone who's capable of more? And if your answers are yes, but your daily actions aren't reflecting that identity, then that gap is creating tension. And a lot of the times, instead of just adjusting our behavior and taking actions towards our goals, instead of just thinking about them, we label ourselves as lazy, or we beat ourselves up, in fact, and we get down on ourselves. That's kind of where that perfectionism comes in. And we have to remember that identity shifts come from those small repeated changes, like lots of actions towards the person we want to be. Things like training when you don't feel like it, eating healthy when you don't feel like it, posting a YouTube video that's not perfectly edited, or doing some work behind the scenes even though it's boring. Confidence in your abilities to complete these tasks, or be an ambitious person that actually follows through with things that you think about, doesn't just come from the vision, it comes from evidence, and you get evidence by doing. A real shift for me was moving from motivation to building structure. So things like creating like a content schedule, you know, a template for thumbnails, anything like that is super helpful, because we have to remember that motivation is like linked to your emotions. You're not always going to feel like doing something. But when you're ambitious and you link that to actions or systems, then you can commit to doing these things long term, even when you're not feeling like you want to do it. Because realistically, you're never going to feel like doing it all the time. Of course, you're going to want some pull towards the thing you're doing. You want it to feel fun and enjoyable. You don't want to have to force yourself to do something. And if you're waiting until you feel inspired, you will always feel inconsistent, because inspiration is going to come and go. But having drive, direction, action, and systems is going to really commit you to that goal. Make the first step almost automatic. So in the example of building a YouTube channel, what I do is I have my content room set up, and I come in here and all I have to do is press record. I've already done the research on my videos, I know what I want to title it, I know what my description is. Everything is ready. All I have to do is turn on the camera, and there we go. It's simple, it's automatic, I don't have to think too much. And I've removed the friction and barriers to entry of participation for filming a YouTube video. And that's what makes it so repeatable and so easy for me to come back week after week after week and do the same thing and get better every time at doing it. Now, if you were a lazy person, you'd be looking at this goal thinking, this is too hard, I can't do this, I don't want to do it, I'll do it when I feel like it, I'll do it when my hair looks good, I'll do it when I have makeup on. Those days never come. Unless you're setting the time aside now, unless you're intentionally setting an action, system, structure in order to execute your goal, then it's never going to happen. And all that ambition in your head is great, but it's not going to get you anywhere without your ability to execute. So if you've ever felt ambitious but lazy, you don't actually lack drive. You might just lack clarity on what you need to do in order to get to your goal, and you're procrastinating that. Ambition without discipline, it just becomes frustration. You're going to get annoyed at yourself, you're going to beat yourself up, and you're not going to want to do the thing. But discipline isn't about the intensity, it's just about being consistent. All you have to do is repeat those small little tasks over and over again consistently, and you are achieving the goal. You are working towards the goal with actions. And that's the most important part of this, because nothing has changed overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to step by step build that house or climb that mountain. See you in the next video.